the giant came through our shield wall as if Rome had built it from reeds. His iron-rimmed shield smashed one recruit aside. A hooked axe dragged another man's scutum down, and the giant's sword opened his throat. Then he saw me on my back beneath a dead soldier, 19 years old, half-drained, and too frightened to breathe. He raised the axe. I had one heartbeat left. I drove my gladius up under the rings of his mail and felt the point enter him. His weight crashed onto me. Hot blood covered my face, the world flashed white, and a golden eagle spread its wings across my sight. Words burned beneath it. Eagle system awakened. Defeat hostile enemies to gain experience. Experience earns levels, and experience beyond a threshold carries toward the next one. Levels may grant free stat points. Eagle sight reveals the strength, injuries, and mastered skills of a visible enemy, but prolonged use damages the eyes. Skill echo may copy one technique from an enemy I helped defeat, beginning at novice rank. 3 echoes may be held. I understood all of it in an instant, which was useful because someone was already trying to kill me again. The someone had a shaved head, a red beard, and a Roman spear sticking through the muscle above his knee. He limped over the giant's body with his teeth bared, sword lifted high enough to split my face. I still lay under dead weight. The giant's mail pressed on my chest. My helmet had turned sideways, and one eye saw only leather cheek guard and blood. I tried to breathe. The giant did not move. He was too heavy for a dead man and much too heavy for a frightened farmer with one arm trapped under his own shield. The red-bearded warrior stepped on the giant's back, nearly crushing the last air from me. His sword came down. I twisted. The blade struck the corpse instead of my skull. Iron rang against iron rings. The shock traveled through the giant and into my ribs. I screamed because screaming was the only breath I had left. My free hand found mud, pine needles, and the hilt of my gladius still buried beneath the dead warrior's mail. The red-bearded man pulled his sword loose and cursed in a language I did not know. He saw the hilt. He saw me reaching for it. His boot came down on my wrist. Pain flared white behind the golden eagle. For one mad heartbeat I thought the system might stop it. It did not. Bone and tendon remained bone and tendon. My wrist bent. My fingers opened. The warrior grinned. Then Tyro hit him from the side with a spear haft. Not a thrust. Not a trained blow. A potter's apprentice swing, desperate and clumsy, both hands white on the wood. It struck the warrior's ear hard enough to stagger him. Tyro's mouth was open, but no sound came out. He looked as surprised as the man he had hit. Again! I shouted. Tyro struck again. This time the warrior caught the shaft and ripped it from his hands. He raised his sword toward Tyro, and the movement shifted his boot from my wrist. I got my fingers around the gladius. The blade was still stuck in the giant. I pulled. Nothing. The red-bearded warrior turned back toward me, annoyed now, and I knew with perfect clarity that I would die with my hand on a trapped sword unless I changed something. The bronze-framed panel still hung at the edge of my sight, waiting. Lucius Varo. Level 1. Strength 8. Endurance 9. Agility 10. Vitality 9. Intelligence 11. Experience, 120 of 100. Level available. 2 free stat points available. Another line pulse beneath it. Skill echo available, shield hook. Capture this technique? I did not know what a skill echo felt like. I knew the giant had used his hook to tear Roman shields aside as if he were opening doors. I knew the red-bearded warrior was raising his sword again. I chose yes. Knowledge entered my muscles like the memory of a movement I had never practiced, catch the upper shield rim, turn the wrist, step outside the enemy's sword hand. It was not mastery. It was a path. My forearm cramped the instant the lesson settled into me, as if some invisible veteran had grabbed every tendon and forced it through a drill it was not ready to perform. The warrior stepped over the giant's shoulder. Tyro backed away and tripped over a root. I needed speed to move, strength to shift the weight, and time for anything else. Vitality might keep me alive later. Endurance might carry me through the day. Intelligence might help me understand the madness burning in my eyes. Later had become a luxury word. I placed 1 point into strength and 1 into agility. Pain tightened every muscle from my heels to my neck. It felt less like receiving power than surviving a month of hard training in a breath. My back arched under the giant. My teeth clacked together. Somewhere far away, a man was screaming. Then I realized it was me. Strength rose to 9. Agility rose to 11. The numbers did not turn me into a hero. The corpse did not leap aside. My wrist still throbbed, and the gladius remained half-trapped in ribs and mail. But the giant shifted one handspan when I shoved. One handspan was the difference between pinned legs and bent knees. I dragged myself backward, leaving skin on stones, and rolled behind my scutum as the red-bearded warrior's sword struck the bronze boss. The impact rattled my shoulder. My whole arm went numb. I was still 19. Still half-trained. Still lying in mud while men died around me. But I was not under the corpse anymore. I kicked the giant's hip, wrenched my gladius free, and came up on one knee behind the curved face of my shield. The warrior swung overhand. His wounded leg dragged as he circled. I might have missed that before. Now I saw the hesitation, the way his weight avoided the spear hole above his knee. I looked at him and willed a new sense open. Eagle sight answered. A pale mark settled over him. Level 2. Strength 10. Agility 9. Injury, deep puncture, right thigh. Mastered skill, overhand cleave. The words were facts, nothing more. They did not tell me whether he hated me, whether he would faint, whether another enemy waited behind the tree. They did not move my arm for me. His shoulder lifted, and I guessed the cleave was coming because the system had named it and because Cassian had spent one bitter morning beating that shape into our eyes. I stepped inside the blow. Not far enough. The sword cut the rim of my shield and shaved a strip of wood into my cheek. The pain steadied me. I rammed my scutum up against his shield, hooked the rim the way the echo urged, and nearly lost the motion at once. I had no axe. I had only Roman wood and a cramped forearm trying to copy a dead giant. I caught wood rather than iron. The grip slipped. I drove my whole body sideways anyway. His wounded leg folded. Tyro appeared from behind the tree, face grey, both hands on a discarded spear. He struck the warrior's sword arm with the shaft. The blow would not have troubled a fresh man. This one had one leg and one heartbeat of surprise. His blade dipped. I thrust under the shield and felt the gladius bite. Experience gained a 35. The letters flickered. The red-bearded warrior fell. Tyro stared at him, then at me, then at the golden light fading from my eyes. Lucius, he said, your eyes. Later, I said, though black needles were already pressing behind them. Where is Cassian? 3 days before the giant fell on me, I had been tying vines on a landlord's farm north of Verona with a strip of old wool wrapped around my fingers. The morning had smelled of damp earth and crushed leaves. My mother had been counting olives in a clay bowl, deciding which debts could be delayed and which men would pound on our door if they were not paid by market day. By sunset, a Levi officer put a wax tablet in my hand and informed me that Rome required my body more urgently than the vines did. He did not say it cruelly. That made it worse. Cruel men could be hated. This one was bored. He had a list, 2 clerks, 6 soldiers, and a mule carrying spare belts. My landlord stood beside him looking solemn enough to impress the gods and pleased enough to make me want to strike him. Lucius Varo, the officer said. My mother gripped my sleeve. She was small, hard-handed, and tired in the way poor women became tired before their hair turned grey. He is my only son. Then Rome will value him singly, the officer said. 2 silver coins went into her palm. They were not enough to replace me. They were not meant to be. They were the polite sound a state made when it took a man's season, body, and maybe life. I wanted to refuse. I imagined it very clearly, dropping the tablet, stepping back, telling the officer that Rome could tie its own vines. Then I saw the soldiers watching, not angry, not eager, simply ready. I saw my mother close her fingers around the coins because refusing would not save me and might cost her the farm hut too. So I kissed her forehead, took the marching tunic, and learned that army sandals could pinch a man into hatred before he reached the road. There were 37 of us gathered by the milestone before dusk. Tyro stood beside a cart of spare shields, thin as a reed, with clay dust still under his fingernails. He kept whispering prayers under his breath and touching the little fired charm at his throat. Which god is that? I asked. All of them, he said. I did not have time to choose. That was the first sensible thing I heard all day. We marched to a temporary camp built in a meadow where 2 roads met. Ditches had been cut around it. Stakes leaned outward. Men moved with the bitter speed of people who had done the same work too many times and had no patience left for boys who thought a shield was only a large board. A veteran named Cassian took charge of us before the sun went down. He had a scar through one eyebrow, a limp he ignored, and shoulders shaped by years of carrying weight he did not respect. He looked us over as if we were a basket of cracked pots. Half of you will try to run when the first horn sounds, he said. That is natural. It is also stupid. A man running alone is meat with sandals. A man in a line might live long enough to become ugly like me. Tyro whispered another prayer. Cassian heard it. Of course he heard it. Save the gods for arrows, he said. For spears, use the shield. They gave a scooter from a wagon, curved shields tall enough to cover chest and knee. Mine smelled of old sweat, wet leather, and fear. A bronze boss bulged at the center. The wood was heavier than it looked. When I lifted it wrong, it pulled my shoulder forward and left my ribs open. Cassian struck that opening with a practice rod. Again. I lifted the shield. He struck my knee. Again. By moonrise, my arm shook so badly I could barely hold the thing upright. Cassian did not care. He showed us the spear grip for the first collision and the gladius for the crush afterward. He taught us to lock the shield edge beside the next man, thrust around the rim, and never chase a man who pretended to run. The man who runs may be bait, Cassian said. The man who chases becomes an example. A large recruit named Pullo laughed whenever Tyro stumbled. Pullo was not a villain from a street tale. He was simply big, scared, and pleased to discover someone smaller. During shield practice, he slammed Tyro into the dirt 3 times. The third time, Tyro stayed down too long. I stepped between them. Pullo smiled. You want his place. I want you to hit someone standing. Cassian watched from 5 paces away. I expected him to stop it. Instead he folded his arms. Pullo hit me with his shield. Field work had made me strong enough to lift stones, drag wet rope, and carry great baskets until my neck burned. None of that taught me how to take a shield blow. The bronze boss drove the air from my lungs. I fell backward over Tyro and landed with my pride somewhere under my spine. Pullo laughed again. Men nearby joined him because fear prefers company. I got up. The second blow hurt less because I lowered my shoulder and met it with the curve of the scutum. It still knocked me back. The third time, I set my rear foot in the mud the way Cassian had shown us. Pullo struck, grunted, and found that I had moved only half a step. Cassian's rod cracked across my calf. Do not admire yourself during a fight. Pullo's next shove caught me while I was looking at Cassian. I went down again. Cassian pointed at me. Front rank. I thought I had misheard. For being knocked over. For getting up before you finish being afraid. An idiot who stands his ground can sometimes be made useful. We slept in rows on damp ground, too tired to complain properly. Tyro lay beside me, staring at the stars above the ditch. Why did you step in? He asked. You were down. That is not a reason. It was at the time. He turned the clay charm between finger and thumb. My father says men with simple reasons die first. Your father is a potter. Yes. Then he knows more about jars than battles. Tyro almost smiled. And you know battles? No, I said. But I know Pullo. That made him laugh once, quietly, as if laughter were contraband. 2 more days followed. We marched before sunrise, drilled whenever the column halted, and slept wherever the baggage cart stopped. Cassian taught us to close gaps, change front on a horn call, thrust around a shield rim, and keep formation while veterans shoved and cursed us. It was enough training to show me how much I did not know. On the third night, rain soaked the camp and officers argued over reports from the northern road. Before dawn, horns sounded beyond the pines. Not Roman horns. Long, uneven, animal notes rolling through the wet dark. The camp changed in a breath. Men who had cursed slowly now moved fast. Officers shouted. Mules screamed as handlers tightened loads. Cassian came down the recruit line with his helmet already on. Up, he said. Shields. Spears. If you vomit, do it away from the grain sacks. Tyro fumbled his belt. My hands felt thick and distant, as if they belonged to a man still asleep. I tied the straps, lifted the scutum, and tried to remember every word Cassian had given us. Lock the edge. Thrust low. Do not chase bait. Do not run alone. The horn sounded again. Somewhere in the trees, men were waiting to test whether 3 days of training could keep a farmer alive. We did not march straight to battle. That was the first surprise. In stories, the horn sounds and men run toward glory or doom. In the real morning, we stood in mud while officers argued about scouts, baggage, and which century had misplaced a bundle of spearheads. Cassian used the delay to make us drill. Again, he said. We locked shields. Again. We stepped forward. Again. We stepped back, and half the line tangled because Pullo moved too fast while Tyro moved too late. Cassian walked along the front and struck ankles with his rod until our feet learned shame. Your shield is not yours, he said. It belongs to the man beside you. Your right side belongs to him. His left side belongs to you. Break that bargain and both of you bleed. Tenant farmers understood bargains. The landlord owned the soil. We owned the hunger. A shield line was another unfair bargain, but at least this one might keep a spear out of my ribs. Pullo kept trying to stand half a pace ahead, big chest forward, jaw set. Cassian made him trade places with Tyro. But he is smaller, Pullo said. Then protect him. What if he slows me? Good, Cassian said. Then you will not run off and die where I have to look at you. Tyro did not thank Cassian. He was too busy trying not to drop his shield. We received a mouthful of barley, sour wine cut with water, and orders to move north with Centurion Marcellus. Marcellus had a square face, a voice that cut through noise, and no interest in whether recruits felt ready. He inspected us in a line. When he reached me, he struck the rim of my scutum with 2 knuckles. Name: Lucius Varo. Farm: north of Verona. Can you keep that shield up? Yes, Centurion. You hesitated. My arm hurts. His eyes narrowed. Then he gave the smallest nod. Good. A liar would have said no. He moved on. Cassian watched him go. Marcellus is a hard man, but he counts bodies honestly. Stay where he puts you. The road north climbed into country that did not care about Roman order. Pines crowded close. Limestone broke through the soil in pale teeth. The veterans marched as if the trees were only trees. The recruits stared everywhere. Tyro walked to my right. Pullo was 2 men down, still annoyed. Cassian moved behind us, correcting spacing with quiet curses. Why are they fighting us? Tyro asked. Because we came north with spears, I said. We came because they raided farms. Maybe they raided because someone came north with spears before us. Tyro looked at me as if I had said something dangerous. Cassian's rod tapped my shield. Save philosophy for men too old to carry packs. I kept my mouth shut. Near midday we passed a burned cart. One wheel still smoked. 2 mule bodies lay in the ditch. Marcellus halted us long enough for scouts to check the trees. They found no one. An older legionary named Rufus spat beside the cart. They want us angry. I am angry, Pullo said. Then they already own a piece of you. Pullo did not answer. None of us did. The scouts returned with news that the northern warband was retreating up a wet slope beyond the pines. Marcellus listened, asked 3 questions, and ordered us forward in fighting order. Cassian's face changed when he heard the report. Not much. Just a tightening at the mouth. What? I asked. Retreating men usually make more noise. The words lodged in me. I looked at the mist, the slope, the dark trunks, the spaces between them. I wanted eagle sight then, though I did not know its name yet. I wanted anything that could turn fear into facts. All I had was a shield too heavy for my arm and a veteran's warning. We climbed. The ground worsened after the first 100 paces. Mud sucked at sandals. Ferns hid stones. A man in the rear slipped, and the shield line lurched as if one stumble had pulled a rope through us. Marcellus snapped us back into order. He placed veterans at the edges, recruits toward the middle, and himself near the front where his voice could reach. I tried to watch Cassian instead of the trees. He moved like a man listening with his whole body. Spear angled. Shield close. Head turning just enough to catch movement without losing the line. Lucius, Tyro whispered. What? If I freeze, hit me. I will not have time. Promise anyway. Fine. If you freeze, I will hit you. Thank you. Then a raven burst from a branch above us, and every recruit flinched. Marcellus raised a fist. The line stopped. Then the first spear came out of the trees and struck Marcellus through the cheek. Marcellus did not scream. The spear entered below his left cheekbone and came out red near the back of his jaw. His head snapped sideways. His body remained upright for one impossible heartbeat, as if discipline alone could refuse death. Then his knees folded. The front rank stared. Cassian roared, shields. Warriors rushed downhill behind painted boards and iron points. Some wore mail. Most wore wool, leather, and rage. They had chosen the ground, chosen the moment, and waited while we climbed ourselves out of breath. Our front rank tried to set itself on mud. A horn screamed to our left. Men turned toward it, and that tiny turn opened the center. The charge hit before Cassian could close us. I caught a spear on my scutum. The impact numbed my shoulder and drove the rim into my cheek. The spearhead punched halfway through the wood and stuck there, quivering. A face appeared beyond it, eyes pale under a mat of hair. I thrust where Cassian had taught us, not at the chest, but low at the thigh. Men forgot while shouting. My spear entered flesh. The warrior yelled and tried to wrench back. I lost my grip. Cassian stabbed over my shoulder and drove him away. Hold! Cassian shouted. Do not chase. Someone chased. I saw only a flash of Roman helmet pushing through the gap after a retreating warrior. 2 painted shields closed around him. The helmet vanished. A wet sound followed, and the gap widened because the men beside him leaned away from death. Tyro froze. His shield sagged. His spear point dropped. A warrior with a short axe saw the opening and came straight for him. I hooked my fingers through Tyro's harness and hauled him behind my scutum. The axe bit into my shield where his face had been. Wood split. My arm screamed. You said hit me, I shouted. That was not hitting. Complain later. The axe came again. I shoved instead of blocking, catching the warrior while his weapon was still rising. Our shields slammed together. He was stronger. I was lower. He slipped in the mud, and Cassian's spear took him in the throat. Experience did not appear then. The system had not opened. But something unseen must have counted, because the Golden Eagle would later remember that I had helped. The battle lost its shape. Horns sounded from 3 directions. Orders collided. A centurion's whistle shrieked and stopped. Men shouted that we were surrounded. I do not know who said it first. The lie traveled faster than truth. Recruits began looking backward. A line can survive fear in front of it. Fear behind it cuts the knees. Pullo stood 2 men away, shield high, pushing hard. He had finally become useful. Then a javelin struck his neck above the collar. He dropped his spear and clutched at the shaft, surprise opening his mouth. The man behind him stepped away from the blood. Another man filled the space too late. A northern warrior drove through. Marcellus was down. The standard vanished in the mist. Cassian shouted for the right side to close, but the left had already buckled. The sentry broke into knots, each not convinced it was alone. Then the giant arrived. He wore a wolf skin over mail, the animal's head hanging above his own like a second skull. His shield was smaller than ours but rimmed in iron, and in his right hand he carried a hooked axe short enough to move fast. A long sword hung at his left. He did not rush. He walked into the broken place as if it belonged to him. A recruit stabbed at him. The giant caught the spear against his shield, stepped inside, and struck with the hook. The axe caught the recruit's scutum near the top rim. One turn of the wrist dragged the shield down. The long sword came out and opened the boy's throat. That was the first time I saw shield hook. Cassian met him squarely. The veteran did everything right. He did not overreach. He kept his shield high. He thrust to make the giant answer him instead of killing boys. For 3 breaths, he held. Iron rang. Cassian's spear scored the wolf skin. The giant's axe scraped the bronze boss. Then a second warrior struck Cassian behind the knee. Cassian fell to one side. The giant's hook ripped his scutum down, and the sword cut through the space where his head had been a heartbeat earlier. Cassian rolled, alive, but the line behind him saw the veteran fall. That was enough. Men ran. I wish I could say I did not want to. My legs wanted to run so badly they trembled with it. Tyro stood in the giant's path, empty-eyed, his spear gone. The giant saw him and changed direction with the simple economy of a butcher choosing the next carcass. I charged because Tyro was in his path. My spear glanced from the giant's mail. He hit me with his shield. Not a shove. A wall with a man behind it. My feet left the ground. I landed on my back beneath a falling Roman whose blood poured warm across my chin. My helmet twisted over one eye. The spear vanished from my hand. The giant stepped over Cassian. He stepped over Pullo. He came to finish me, and I used the only weapon I could reach. My gladius found the gap beneath his mail. After that came the white flash, the golden eagle, the system, and the red-bearded warrior trying to kill me while I learned that power still hurt. When the red-bearded man fell, Tyro and I found Cassian by following curses. He was behind a fallen pine, one leg stretched in front of him, blood soaking the wrappings above the knee. He had a spear in both hands and was trying to stand by insulting his own body. Lazy old bone, he growled. Move. Cassian, I said. He looked at me, then at the dead giant visible through the mist. You? He slipped. On your sword. Mostly. Tyro made a sound that was either laugh or sob. Cassion's eyes narrowed. Your eyes are gold. They were, I said. Now they mostly hurt. Good. Pain proves you still have a head. Around us, perhaps 14 Romans still held weapons. The rest had fled downhill or lay in the mud. Enemy shouts moved through the trees. The warband thought we were broken. They were right, unless someone gave our fragments a shape. Cassian tried to rise again and nearly fell. Stay down, I said. Give orders when you have hair on your chest and a rank on your belt. Then stand. He glared at me. His leg answered for both of us. He could barely put weight on it. Our centurion was dead. The standard was somewhere in the mud. I was a farm boy who had worn a military belt for 3 days and had just learned that invisible numbers did not stop my hands from shaking. I looked downslope and saw our century's fallen signum leaning against a body, its small eagle ornament dark with mist. I picked it up. The moment my hand closed around the signum pole, men looked at me as if I had stolen a sacred object. The eagle ornament at the top was small, battered, and wet, but in that broken patch of trees it became taller than any of us. On me! I shouted. My voice cracked. No one moved. I shouted again, lower this time, angry because fear had embarrassed me. Shields on the standard. Tyro came first. That mattered. He stumbled to my right with his scutum lifted too high and his face too pale, but he came. A veteran with blood in his beard followed because he saw Cassian watching. 2 recruits came because they did not know where else to go. A wounded man crawled 3 paces just to put his back against the rock near us. Cassian looked at the slope, then at me. Between the outcrops. I followed his eyes. 2 limestone teeth rose from the hillside 10 paces apart. Ferns and roots filled the ground between them, but no more than 6 men could approach abreast. It was not a wall. It was the suggestion of a wall, and frightened men can use suggestions if they are desperate enough. Move, I said. There. Shields tight. Nobody obeyed because I said it well. They obeyed because the enemy was closer than doubt. We formed badly. The left edge came forward too far. Tyro tried to stand beside me, but a taller veteran shoved him half a pace back where a spear could reach over my shoulder. Cassian dragged himself behind the second rank and set his spear across his knee. Strong men on the edges, he snapped. Frightened ones in the middle. That is everyone, Tyro said. Then we have a full middle. The joke steadied the line better than a prayer. I planted the standard behind my left heel, where the eagle could be seen over my shoulder, but the pole would not trip me. My shield arm throbbed. My wrist had begun swelling. Blood from the giant dried on my face in tight streaks. The bronze panel still hung at the edge of sight, waiting for choices I had already made. Strength 9. Agility 11. Endurance 9. Vitality 9. Intelligence 11. It looked absurd. 5 numbers to hold against men with axes. Yet I could feel the difference. My shield lifted a fraction quicker. My legs answered before panic locked them. The change was not enough to make battle easy. It was enough to make the next right action possible. They come through here, we die alone, I told the men. They stop here, we walk home together. That was the whole speech. No glory. No gods. No promise that Rome remembered our names. The first enemy group charged. They expected us to break. I saw it in their speed. They did not slow to dress their line or test the rocks. Spears hammered our shields. The first impact drove us back half a step. A recruit behind me cried out. Cassian called the rhythm. Block. Thrust. Step. Again. A spearhead scraped across my cheek guard. I pushed it aside with the scutum, felt the shield hook echo twitch in my forearm, and used it before I could think myself out of the attempt. I caught a painted shield near the rim and pulled. Too hard. The enemy did not fall. I nearly did. My elbow flared with pain. Tyro saved me by thrusting past my shoulder. His spear glanced from the man's ribs but made him flinch. The veteran on my left killed him with a short stab under the arm. Experience gained a 35. I ignored it. Counting points while men leaned on my shield would get them killed. The second enemy tried to climb the left outcrop. A wounded Roman with no helmet seized his ankle and bit his calf like a starving dog. The climber screamed. The veteran on the edge shoved him backward. He struck the ground hard enough to lose his shield, and 3 Roman spear points found him before he could rise. 7 became 4. 4 became doubt. Step! Cassian barked. We advanced 1 pace. That 1 pace broke them. They ran downhill through the mist. Pullo would have chased if he had lived. I might have chased too, 3 days earlier in whatever life had ended at the Levi cart. Now Cassion's morning drill held my feet in place. "Do not chase," I said. "He is bleeding," a recruit panted. "We can finish him." "No." The word came out sharp enough that he listened. The system had rewarded me for hostile defeat, not slaughtering a man with his back turned into the trees. More important, a running enemy could be bait. Cassion's lessons had cost too much blood to spend cheaply. A second group came more carefully. They had watched us. That chilled me more than the first charge. Enemies were not practice posts. They learned too. 2 threw spears before closing. 1 struck the rock. 1 hit the man to my left in the brow ridge above his eye. The iron did not go deep, but blood sheeted over his face. He stayed upright by making a sound like a door hinge. Then the enemy attacked our right edge while 2 men climbed the outcrop. I opened eagle sight for a breath. Levels and injuries flashed across the slope. Level 3. Level 2. Level 4. 1 climber had a damaged left shoulder. The swordsman leading the right attack was level 4, stronger than anyone beside me, with a mastered skill called Shield Splitter. Heat stabbed behind my eyes at once. I closed the sight before it could blind me and changed the line. "Cassian, right edge. Tyro, give me your spear." Tyro did not ask why. He shoved the spear into my hand and drew his gladius with fingers that shook but did not fail. The level 4 warrior crashed into the right side. His first blow struck high, not to kill but to make the shield rise. The second came low, chopping at the exposed knee. Shield Splitter was not magic. It was a trained sequence. The man on the right would have fallen if Cassian had tried to meet the strength directly. Cassian turned the blow instead. Old hands beat strong hands. The enemy's blade slid along the shield rim and buried itself in mud. Cassian drove his spear into the man's thigh and cursed because the angle was poor. I threw Tyro's spear at the climber, aiming left. Not at his chest. At the space his wounded shoulder would refuse to risk. He twisted away exactly as I hoped, lost his footing, and slammed into the second climber. Both men fell from the rock into fern and stone. Tyro saw the gap at the same instant I did. He rammed his shield under the level 4 warrior's weapon arm. I used shield hook again. This time I caught the iron rim cleanly. The world narrowed to wrist, edge, step. The echo showed me the path. Practice had not earned the movement yet, so pain did. I turned, stepped outside the sword hand, and dragged his shield just far enough. Cassian stabbed beneath it. The man remained standing. I stepped close and struck the same opening with my gladius. Experience gained, 50. He fell. His fighters saw for Roman shields advance over him. They ran. We did not chase. The men around me breathed like bellows. Someone laughed. Someone vomited. The standard shook in my hand because my arm shook, but the eagle stayed above the mist. The immediate attack had failed. The battle had not ended. After the second group broke, silence did not come. Battlefields never gave silence. They only changed which sounds owned you. Downhill, horns called in broken answers. Men shouted names. Wounded soldiers begged for mothers, water, death, or officers who were already dead. Somewhere to the left, a northern warrior laughed too loudly and then stopped in the middle of it. Our 14 shields held between the rocks. I counted because numbers were easier than faces. 14 able to stand. 3 able to crawl. Cassian sitting with his bad leg braced, face grey, still holding a spear as if death would have to ask permission. Tyro beside me, lips moving around prayers he no longer had breath to finish. The veteran with blood over one eye. A boy from Cremona whose name I did not know and whose spear point trembled in little circles. "Name," I said to him. He blinked. "Marius. Marius, look at me." He did. "If your spear shakes, let it shake toward them." That helped. Cassian heard and gave me a look I could not read. "What?" I asked. "Nothing. You look like you swallowed a nail. I am surrounded by recruits. That is the taste." He shifted and nearly fainted from the pain in his leg. I saw it and pretended not to, because men needed him angry more than weak. The system panel pulsed again. The fight with the shield splitter had pushed experience closer to another threshold. The numbers wanted my attention. I wanted theirs. More strength might hold the line. More vitality might keep me upright. Intelligence might help me use this impossible gift without killing everyone by misunderstanding it. But the enemy was reorganizing below us. I could hear leaders calling groups together. Spending points hurt. The first 2 had locked my body for a breath. If I did that while a spear came in, the system would improve a corpse. I closed the panel by force of will. Not now, I muttered. Tyro glanced at me. What? Nothing. If you are speaking to gods, ask for more Romans. I almost told him the truth. The words pressed against my teeth. I see levels. I gain power from battle. I copied the giant's shield trick. But the men around us were held together by strips of habit and fear. A new madness might snap them. I kept the truth for later and tasted copper instead. The third attack did not come as a charge. 3 northern warriors appeared at the edge of the mist, shields lifted, spears low. Behind them, shapes moved among the trees. I raised my shield. Our line tightened. Bait, Cassian said. I saw it a heartbeat after him. The 3 in front stamped and shouted, drawing our eyes, while darker forms moved around the outcrops. They wanted to climb behind us or throw down from above. Marius, I said. Watch left rock. Tyro, right with me. I thought frightened ones stayed middle, Tyro said. You complained. I did not. Then start. He made a breathless sound that might have become laughter if a javelin had not struck the right outcrop and showered us with chips of stone. I opened eagle sight for half a breath. The pain returned faster. Purple shadows crawled at the edges of the trees. I saw 2 climbers on the right, one level 3 with a wounded hand, one level 2 with no listed injury. Behind the 3 decoys stood a level 5 fighter with a throwing spear and a mastered skill called low cast. The panel did not tell me he would throw at Cassian. It did not need to. Cassian was wounded, seated, and still the loudest command voice. A man trained in low cast would aim where shields sat high. I slammed my scutum down and right. The spear came under the shield line, skidding over mud. It struck the bronze boss of my lowered shield instead of Cassian's belly. The force drove the rim into my shin. My leg went numb. Cassian did not ask how I knew. He killed one of the decoys trying to use the throw as cover. Right rock. Tyro shouted. The climbers came over fast. One dropped behind our line with a knife. The wounded Roman who had bitten a calf earlier threw himself at the man's knees. They went down together. I turned, but the 3 decoys surged at the same instant. That was the reversal. We had become proud of the rocks. The enemy made the rocks a door. Our line bent. Marius panicked and thrust too high. A spear slid under his shield and punched into his thigh. He screamed and fell, opening the left. The blood-eyed veteran stepped over him and took a cut meant for his throat on his jaw instead. Tyro turned toward the knife behind us, leaving my right exposed. The level 5 thrower came in with a short sword. I met him badly. His blade struck my shield twice, light taps that moved my guard, and the third cut slid around the rim toward my forearm. I jerked back. The point opened my sleeve and skin. Not deep. Deep enough. Eagle Sight had given me his level, not his rhythm. He smiled when he saw me flinch. I tried shield hook. He had watched the last fight. He let his shield be caught, stepped with the pull, and slammed his forehead into my nose. Light burst behind my eyes. I staggered. He drove his sword low. The blade skidded across the belt plates and cut a shallow groove above my hip. Pain buckled the leg, but the muscle still answered. Tyro saved me again, not with a brave charge but with a potter's aim. He threw a fist-sized stone from 3 paces away and hit the level 5 fighter in the mouth. The man spat blood and teeth. I used the ugly heartbeat. No echo. No cleverness. I smashed the bronze boss into his broken mouth, stepped on his forward foot, and stabbed under the ribs. Experience gained, 110. The knife fighter behind us died under 2 Romans and a rock. Marius lived because Cassian tied a strap around his thigh with hands that had done it too often. The remaining attackers pulled back, not routed this time, but cautious. 14 shields had become 12. The system pulsed. Level 2. Experience, 250 of 250. Level available. 1 skill echo held, shield hook, novice. The report settled like a clerk reading losses after a storm. It did not heal my nose, close the cut at my hip, or lift Marius from the mud. Roman horns answered from downhill. At first I thought I imagined them. Then Cassian lifted his head. Rear ranks, he said. Someone is reforming. The horns called again, closer, and with them came a sound more valuable than music, Roman voices shouting in order. Hold the eagle high, Cassian said. My arm hated him. I lifted the standard anyway. Shapes moved below. not northern shields. Roman scouter, scattered at first, then gathering. Men saw the eagle ornament above the limestone teeth. Some pointed. Some began climbing toward us. The enemy saw them too and made one last attempt to break us before help arrived. This charge had no trick in it. It nearly worked anyway. They came with anger, 12 or 15 men, enough to fill the gap and push bodies through by weight. We braced. The first collision drove us back into the wounded. Marius screamed. Cassian stabbed from the ground. Tyro's shield locked beside mine. The blood-eyed veteran fell, rose, and fell again. I spent no points. I opened no sight. I held. Sometimes survival was not a choice of power. It was one more breath with wood against wood while your feet slid and every muscle begged to stop. The Roman survivors reached the slope behind the attackers. An optio from the rear ranks drove his men uphill in a wedge. The northern warriors heard the formation before they saw it. Their push weakened. "Step!" I shouted. Our ragged line stepped. The optio's men struck from below. The enemy broke between us. We did not win the battle in a clean moment. There was no single cheer, no horn of triumph, no enemy king falling beneath a perfect thrust. The warband withdrew by pieces, dragging their wounded, snatching Roman helmets, vanishing behind trees when pressed and striking when fools followed. The optio knew enough not to chase far. Cassian knew enough to swear at anyone who looked tempted. The slope belonged to us by late afternoon because we remained on it and they did not. That was victory. It smelled like blood, shit, wet wool, and open bellies. The optio's name was Varo Secundus, which made 3 men laugh because my name was Varo and battle had left everyone stupid with relief. He was a narrow-faced man with a broken nose and a voice worn thin by shouting. He took one look at the standard in my hand. "Who gave you that?" "It was in the mud," I said. "That is not an answer." Cassian spoke before I could make it worse. He raised it when Marcellus fell. Men rallied on it. The optio looked at Cassian's leg, then at the bodies between the rocks, then at me. "You are a recruit." "Yes." "Of course you are." He took the standard from me, then hesitated. His fingers tightened around the pole as if he expected me to protest. I did not. The eagle was not mine. It had only passed through my hands while better men were dead or bleeding. Secundus planted it where all could see. We carry wounded first. Strip our dead after. Enemy dead last. Nobody chases trophies into the trees. Anyone who does answers to me if he survives and to Marcellus if he does not. That was the first order since the ambush that sounded like a floor under our feet. I helped drag men into rows. The system offered no reward for that. Good. If it had, I might have started hating it before sunset. Tyro found water skins. Cassian directed bandages with the impatience of a man furious he could not stand. We found Marcellus near the place he had fallen. The spear had broken when men trampled past him. His eyes were open. Mud covered one side of his face. He looked less hard dead, which angered me for no reason I could name. Eagle sight tugged at my thoughts. I should not have used it. My eyes already burned. But I wanted to know what kind of man had died before giving his next order. I opened the sight for one breath. Level 7. Strength 13. Endurance 14. Agility 11. Vitality 12. Injury, fatal spear wound, head. Mastered skills, line command, gladius measure, shield discipline. The words faded. Pain lanced behind both eyes. I bent over with a hand on my knees. Marcellus had been level 7. Cassian was level 6 when I glanced at him earlier by accident, the mark flickering over his wounded body. The giant had been level 5. The level for shield splitter had nearly broken us. Numbers meant something, but not everything. A spear from the mist had killed a harder man than any of us. That lesson was worth more than a stat point. Tyro came up beside me with a water skin. "You are doing the gold eye thing again." "Do not call it that." "What should I call it?" "Nothing, where officers can hear." He lowered his voice. "Then there is a name." I took the water and drank too fast. My stomach cramped. "Eagle sight." Tyro stared. "That sounds official." It came with words. Words from whom? I do not know. From the eagle. I was under a dead giant at the time. I did not ask for seals and witnesses. He looked over his shoulder. Secundus was shouting at men to build litters from spears and cloaks. Cassian watched us with one eye narrowed. "Can it heal?" Tyro asked. "No." The disappointment on his face hurt more than I expected. Can it see hidden men? No. Can it tell when someone is about to strike? No. Only facts. Level. Some stats. Injuries. Skills. And it hurts if I keep it open. Tyro absorbed this. He was frightened, but not of me. That steadied me. The shield trick, he asked. A skill echo. From the giant. So you are becoming him. The question struck harder than the level 5 fighter's headbutt. No, I said too quickly. Tyro heard the speed. Lucius. No. It is a technique. It starts badly. I have to practice. I need the right motion, the right weapon. It does not make me him. I wanted that to be true because I said it. Tyro looked at the giant's corpse, the wolf skin dark with blood, then back at me. Good, he said. He was ugly. I laughed and regretted it because my ribs flared. The wounded were worse than our courage had room for. We had too few litters, too few bandages, and too many men who would die if left on the slope overnight. Secundus chose who could be carried first and who had to wait. No system panel appeared over that decision. No golden eagle told him whether mercy should spend strength on a gut wound or a broken leg. That was command, arithmetic with human faces. When he ordered 2 men left until the second trip, one begged. Secundus's jaw shook. He did not change the order. Cassian looked away. Tyro cried silently while tying a cloak around a litter pole. I wanted to hate Secundus. Instead I saw what the choice cost him and feared the day someone might make me pay the same coin. The litter party returned before dusk. They brought one of the 2 men back alive. The other had died while they climbed, and 4 soldiers carried him anyway. Secundus counted both before he gave the order to move. Near dusk, we began moving south. The road was not truly open. It was a wet track through trees with enemy horns fading beyond the ridges. We carried the worst wounded, including Cassian, though he cursed every jolt and accused the litter bearers of trying to shake his bones loose for soup. Tyro walked near him with a spear. I took the left side of Marius's litter for the first mile, then nearly dropped it when my hip wound stiffened. Switch, Secundus ordered. I can carry. Can you carry tomorrow if you tear it open? I switched. The system pulsed again while we marched. Level available. 2 free stat points available. This time I could not delay forever. If raiders struck the column, my weakness might kill men. But spending points while walking could lock my muscles, and a dropped litter could kill Marius. I waited until Secundus halted us at a stream crossing to water the men. I stepped behind a pine, gripped the bark, and opened the panel. Strength 9. Endurance 9. Agility 11. Vitality 9. Intelligence 11. My first choice had been panic. The second needed thought. Strength would help with shield work and carrying. Agility had saved me once, but too much speed without endurance would only let me tire faster. Vitality tempted me because every wound shouted its name. Intelligence might sharpen decisions with the system, but no number would replace Cassian's training or Secundus's hard arithmetic. I put 1 point into endurance and 1 into vitality. The pain came slower than before and deeper. My lungs burned as if I had run uphill with a millstone. My wounds prickled, not healing, but waking. Blood seeped again at my hip. I clamped my teeth on my knuckle until the worst passed. Endurance rose to 10. Vitality rose to 10. No miracle followed. The cut did not close. My ribs still hurt. But my breath came steadier when I returned to the column, and the cold shaking in my hands eased. Cassian saw me. You look like a man who swallowed fire. Bad water. Liar. Veteran. Idiot. He closed his eyes, but the corner of his mouth moved. We reached the lower road after sunset. Secundus set a ring of guards and ordered no fires. The wounded lay under cloaks. Men ate barley dry because smoke could draw enemies. The sky cleared enough for stars. I thought sleep would take me at once. Instead I lay awake beside Tyro, listening to the forest breathe. Tell me the rules again, he whispered. So I did. Quietly. Experience from hostile defeat. Levels. Free points. Eagle sight with pain. Skill echo from enemies I helped defeat, 3 slots only, practice required. No healing. No hidden men. No thoughts. No future. Tyro listened like a man memorizing a dangerous tool. Then you can die, he said. Yes. Good. That is a strange comfort. If you could not die, I would not know what you were. I watched the dark between the trees and understood him perfectly. The enemy tested us before dawn. Not with a charge, Not with horns. A stone clicked somewhere beyond the guard ring, and a Roman sentry died with an arrow through the throat. He made a small wet sound and fell into the leaves. The second arrow struck a shield because the man beside him happened to turn at the right moment. The camp woke without shouting. That saved us. Secundus had placed veterans on the outer watch and recruits inside with the wounded. The veterans rolled behind shields. The recruits grabbed weapons and looked for someone to tell them where fear belonged. Cassian, lying on a cloak with his leg bound, pointed his spear at the ground beside him. Lucius! Tyro! Here! We crawled to him as another arrow hissed overhead. How many? He asked. I almost opened eagle sight into darkness. Then I remembered the rule I had told Tyro, visible targets. The trees beyond the road were black shapes. The system could not read hidden men. I cannot see them. Then your gold eyes are useless. Yes. Good. Use ears. That was Cassian's whole method. Take away miracle. Leave work. We listened. Leave shifted left, then right. A branch creaked too high for a man walking. Someone was climbing for a firing angle. Another moved through brush near the stream. Secundus signaled with his sword, sending two veterans low toward the sound. No one shouted. The wounded held their breath. Tyro touched my sleeve and pointed. I saw nothing. He pointed again, higher. A shape lay along a branch, bow drawn, the pale underside of one forearm catching starlight. Now visible. I opened eagle sight for a blink. Level 3. Agility 12. Injury, none. Mastered skill, branch shot. Pain sparked but did not bloom because I closed the sight at once. Archer in the oak, I whispered. Cassian looked where I looked. Can you throw? A spear. A prayer, if it has weight. I took a javelin from a stack beside the wounded. My hip protested when I rose to one knee. The archer shifted along the branch, aiming down toward Secundus. I remembered throwing at the climber's wounded shoulder. This man had no listed injury. No convenient weakness. Only position. I waited until he drew. A drawn bow makes a body choose stillness. I threw. The javelin did not strike him cleanly. It hit the branch below his chest, bounced, and tore across his forearm. The arrow flew wild. The archer cursed, slipped, and grabbed for bark with his wounded arm. Tyro ran 2 steps and hurled a stone up into the leaves. The stone hit nothing important. The archer lost his grip anyway and fell hard enough to crack branches all the way down. Experience gained, 25. Not a kill. A meaningful defeat. He hit the ground alive, and 2 veterans bound him before he could crawl. That mattered. The system did not demand I slit his throat for the rest. The other attackers withdrew after losing their height advantage. 1 veteran returned with a cut along his scalp and a grin full of missing teeth. The second did not return. At sunrise, we found him by the stream with a knife under his ribs and his fingers still locked in an enemy's hair. Both bodies had gone cold together. Secundus questioned the captured archer through a trader who knew enough of his tongue to turn threats into meaning. The archer gave little. A boar sign burned on his leather wrist guard. Not painted. Burned. He spat when asked about kings and laughed when asked who commanded the ambush. Not king, the trader translated. Spear. A spear commands them. Secundus asked. The archer looked toward the north ridge and said a name the trader struggled to shape. I mean Surik, the trader said at last. Or Oath Champion. Not king. More feared. The name meant nothing to me then. It should have. Secundus ordered the prisoner kept alive. Some men objected. They wanted payment for the sentry. Secundus's face hardened. He is bound. He is not experienced for any man's anger. He did not know how close his words struck. I looked at the prisoner and felt no pulse from the system. Hostile, yes. Defeated, yes. Helpless now. The golden eagle remained silent. Something in my chest loosened. Pullo had died. Marcellus had died. Men I had known for a day had died with surprise on their faces. I could still become something worse if I let grief look like justice. The system, at least, would not pay me for it. We buried the Roman dead in shallow graves marked with stones. Enemy dead were moved away from the water and covered where time allowed. Cassian made me practice shield hook while men prepared litters. Now? I asked. Especially now. My wrist is swollen. Then learn what the movement costs. He had Tyro hold a captured shield. I was to catch the rim with my scutum, turn, step outside, and create an opening without wrenching my own arm useless. The echo showed me a strong path. My body kept choosing a foolish one. I pulled too wide. I twisted late. I let my shield drift and exposed my ribs. Cassian corrected each failure with a spear haft. Again. After the 10th attempt, my forearm cramped so badly I dropped the shield. Novice, the system whispered in the corner of my sight, as if that explained the humiliation. Cassian heard me curse. The dead giant had years in that hook. You have one night and a magic itch. Respect the difference. You believe me. I believe I saw you move like a man remembering a lesson he never learned. I believe your eyes shine like a temple coin when you stare too hard. I believe men with gifts die when they think gifts replace drill. He leaned on his spear, sweat bright on his forehead from pain. So we drill. We drilled until Secundus ordered the column moving. By then, shield hook remained novice, but it no longer felt like a stranger borrowing my arm. It felt like a dangerous tool whose handle I had finally found. The road south passed through a narrow cut where limestone rose on both sides. Secundus hated it on sight. So did Cassian. The scouts found tracks in the mud, bare feet, booted feet, and the deep marks of men carrying weight. The warband had moved ahead of us in the night. They want the wounded, Tyro said. They want the standard, Cassian said. I looked at the eagle Secundus carried near the front. Why? Because men follow what they can see. Break the symbol, break the feet under it. That answer should have satisfied me. It did not. The captured archer had looked north when he said Armin Surik's name. The giant had not fought like a raider grabbing loot. The ambush had searched the line, broken it, and then pressed where the standard fell. I had a bad thought. What if they wanted someone to raise it? Cassian studied me. Explain. No. Not yet. Because it sounded mad even with golden words in my eyes. Because if Armin Surik was hunting the eagle system, I did not yet know whether he had found it when I lifted the standard. Secundus chose to move through the cut anyway. The wounded could not climb around, and staying still would give the enemy more time. Halfway through, rocks fell. The first rock struck a shield and broke the arm beneath it. The second hit a mule in the skull. The animal folded, blocking half the path. Then javelins came down from both ridges. The cut became a killing jar. Secundus shouted orders from the front. Veterans lifted shields overhead. Recruits crouched around the litters. The wounded screamed because men stepped on them trying not to die. Tyro grabbed my belt before I could look up too long. Visible, he shouted. I blinked rain and grit from my eyes. Shapes moved along the ridge, but only for heartbeats between stones and brush. Eagle sight needed a visible target. It could mark a man I saw, not a shadow I feared. One attacker leaned out to throw. I opened sight. Level 4. Strength 11. Agility 12. Injury, scarred right hand. Mastered skill, stone drop. I closed it before the pain grew teeth. Right ridge. I shouted. Scar hand leads drops. Secundus did not ask how I knew. Good officers used useful information first and questioned demons later. He sent 3 shield men forward to clear the mule while 2 veterans loosed javelins at the ridge. The scar-handed scout vanished behind rock. Another man rose in his place and took a javelin through the shoulder. Experience gained, 15. An assist. Tiny, almost insulting, but real. Rocks kept falling. We could not climb both sides with wounded in the path. We could not stay. Secundus ordered a shield roof, but our scooter were not made for perfect cover in a narrow cut while men above chose angles. Every gap cost blood. Cassian pointed with his spear from the litter. There. Goat path. I saw a thin break in the left wall, a scramble of roots and stone. Too steep for litters. Not too steep for desperate men. I can take 6, I said. Secundus looked at me, then at Cassian. Cassian said, he is an idiot who climbs. Take 8, Secundus said. Clear the left ridge. Do not vanish. I chose Tyro, the blood-eyed veteran whose name was Sabinus, 2 men with javelins, and 4 recruits who looked too scared to argue. Marius tried to rise from his litter. No, I said. I can throw. You can bleed. He hated me for it. That was better than him dying to prove usefulness. We climbed. The goat path was not a path. It was a rumor scratched into wet stone. My improved agility helped, but it did not dry the roots or strengthen the men behind me. Twice I slipped and slammed my wounded hip against rock. Tyro climbed below me, passing shields upward one by one because full scooter would have dragged us backward. Halfway up, a scout appeared above with a spear. No room for formation. No shield line. No Cassian rhythm. He thrust downward. I caught the spear shaft against my forearm and nearly lost skin to the blade. Sabinus threw a javelin from below. The scout stepped aside, exactly as a trained fighter should, and Tyro used that step to grab his ankle. The scout kicked him in the face. Tyro fell against me. We slid 2 paces down the wet rock. The scout raised the spear for a finishing thrust. I borrowed the lesson behind shield hook without pretending the echo fit. It was a stupid idea. The echo wanted a shield rim, compatible weight, and a practice step outside. I had a gladius, one hand on a root, and a spear coming down. The system gave me no borrowed precision. I used ordinary leverage instead, hooked the spear shaft with the guard of my sword, turned my wrist, and pulled. Pain shot up my arm. The spear did not come free. But the scout's balance shifted. Sabinus's second javelin took him in the belly. Experience gained, 40. Compatible equipment, I gasped. The system said compatible equipment. Tyro, bleeding from the nose, stared at me. Then stopped arguing with it. We reached the left ridge angry and breathing hard. 3 scouts guarded the throwing stones. More were farther along the edge, focused on the trapped column below. The scar-handed level 4 leader stood on the opposite ridge, out of reach for now, directing drops with sharp gestures. He saw us a heartbeat after we saw him. He did not panic. He pointed. The 3 scouts turned. Our 8 Romans hit them before they could form. Sabinus killed one with a shield boss to the throat. Tyro and a recruit drove another back from the edge. I met the third, a compact man with a short axe and a round shield painted with a black boar. Eagle sight flickered. Level 3. Strength 10. Endurance 10. Injury, none. Mastered skill, knee bite. I closed the sight and dropped my shield lower than instinct wanted. The axe came exactly where the skill name warned, not at my head, but chopping toward the knee behind the shield. The blow struck wood. I shoved forward. He recovered fast, too fast for my clumsy hook, and slammed his shield into my chest. My ribs flared. I retreated 1 step and nearly stepped off the ridge. No room. He knew it. He pressed. I stopped trying to win like the giant. I won like Cassian had taught us. Shield close. Gladius short. Thrust at thigh. Withdraw. Thrust again. He blocked the first, turned the second, and took the third through the calf because Tyro had come in from his blind side and struck his shield with both hands. The scout dropped to 1 knee. I hit him with the boss and kicked the axe away. Alive? Tyro asked. Bound if we can. The recruit behind us killed him anyway, stabbing down twice with a white face. No experience appeared. The recruit looked at the body, then at me, confused by my expression. He was down, I said. He was enemy. He was down. There was no time to teach what I barely understood. The right ridge still hammered the column. I grabbed the dead scout's axe and pointed with it. Roll their stones. We used the enemy's own piles. Not blindly. Secundus's men were below. We rolled stones along the ridge path, not into the cut, forcing the right side attackers to duck and scatter. Sabinus and the javelin men threw across the gap. One struck the scar-handed leader in the side. Eagle sight marked him again as he staggered. Injury, puncture, lower ribs. He met my gaze across the cut. For a moment, I thought he saw the gold in my eyes. His face changed. Not fear. Recognition. Then he blew a short horn. The scouts withdrew from both ridges at once, too disciplined for ordinary raiders. They left the ambush before it turned against them. That saved their lives and left us with ours. The mule was dragged aside. The column moved through the cut. We carried our new wounded and 1 bound prisoner from the ridge. The recruit who had stabbed the downed scout would not meet my eyes. Cassian did. You learned something ugly, he said when I reached him. The system gave no reward. For what? Killing a helpless enemy. Cassian looked toward the recruit. Then your eagle has 1 decent rule. I wanted to believe 1 decent rule could restrain all the others. We reached the old watch station at dusk. Calling it a fort would have insulted forts. It was a ditch, a timber palisade with gaps, 1 leaning tower, and a stone storehouse built by men who had expected later men to maintain it. Later men had not. Grass grew between the threshold stones. The gate sagged. To us, it looked like salvation. Secundus put everyone to work before anyone could collapse. Wounded inside the storehouse. Shields along the gaps. Stakes reset at the gate. No fires on the wall. 2 small covered fires in the storehouse for hot water and cautery. Men groaned when orders found them. Then they obeyed because stopping meant remembering. I carried water until my arms shook. Tyro helped the surgeon, which meant holding men down while iron-burned wounds closed. He came out after the 3rd one and vomited behind the tower. I stood beside him until he finished. The surgeon caught me before I could take another bucket. He washed grit from the hip cut, proved the blade had missed the muscle, bound it tight, and wrapped my swollen wrist to a thin splint. Bruised, not broken, he said. Carry with the other hand. If the leg stops bearing weight, you stop with it. Secundus moved me from litter duty to messages and wall work. The treatment did not remove the pain. It made the work possible without pretending numbers had healed me. I thought clay smelled bad in a kill, he said. It does. Not like that. No. He wiped his mouth. If I run tomorrow, hit me properly this time. If you run tomorrow, I might be behind you. He looked at me. That was a joke, I said. Bad one. I am new to command. The word slipped out. Command. It hung between us like a stolen cloak. Tyro did not laugh. Inside the storehouse, Secundus questioned the 2nd prisoner. This one was younger than the archer, with a shaved strip along his scalp and a boar mark cut into his upper arm. The trader had survived the march and translated with a bruise swelling over one eye. The prisoner gave more than the archer because pain and fear had loosened him. Sir, it commanded the boar oath. Not king. King sent sons to him. Chief sent champions. He had ordered the ambush not to hold ground, but to break a Roman sentry and watch what rose from it. He wanted the bird-born one. The trader hesitated over that phrase and crossed himself in the Roman way, though he was not Roman. Every man in the storehouse turned toward me. I wished I had been outside carrying water. Secundus dismissed everyone except Cassian, Tyro, and me. Cassian had been carried in on a litter and propped against grain sacks, which did nothing to make him less dangerous. Explain, Secundus said. So I did. Not all of it at first. Men never give madness whole. I began with the giant, the golden eagle, the rules. Secundus's face did not change. Cassian's did, but only because pain made him pale. Tyro corrected me twice when I left out details, which was how I learned he had memorized the rules better than I had. When I finished, Secundus rubbed both hands over his face. I was hoping you had merely been blessed by a god in a vague and deniable fashion. Sorry, I said. Do not apologize for being inconvenient until I know whether I must report you or bury you. Cassian snorted. Report him and some perfumed tribune will put him in a tent, ask him to stare at prisoners, and get us all killed. Burying him also wastes the gift, Secundus said. I am in the room, I said. Yes, Secundus replied. That is the problem. I should have been offended. Instead I was relieved. A man who talked about me as a problem might still think clearly. We tested the rules because Secundus was an officer and Cassian was Cassian. Could Eagle Sight read a man through a wall? No. Could it see Tyro's intentions? No. Could it mark Cassian if I closed my eyes? No. Could it see a prisoner as a target? It could show facts when visible, but the system offered no experience, no echo, no invitation. Could I capture a Roman skill? No opportunity, and we would not create one. Skill echo required an enemy I helped defeat. Cassian made me repeat that twice. Good, he said. I prefer not being stabbed for education. The prisoner watched with growing terror as my eyes flickered gold. Eagle Sight showed him level 2, strength 9, agility 11, injury, bound wrists, bruised ribs, mastered skill, knife rush. No thoughts. No loyalty. No hidden oath. Just facts. After 3 short uses, purple shadows swam over the walls. I closed the sight and pressed my palms into my eyes until sparks burst. Cost is real, Secundus said. Very, I said. Then we use it like wine in a drought. That became the first rule not given by the system. The prisoner told us our mean scouts would strike before dawn or let us run and follow. Secundus believed the first because the watch station controlled the lower road. If we held until morning, the wounded could reach the next camp. If we failed, the Boar Oath would take the standard, the prisoners, and perhaps me. Our task became simple enough to say while afraid, hold the station through the night, then open the road south. No one called it a campaign. No one needed to. Secundus gave assignments. Cassian commanded the inner reserve from his grain sack throne. Tyro carried messages. I took 8 men to repair the gate, including the recruit who had stabbed the helpless scout. His name was Flaccus. He worked hard and kept waiting for me to speak. At last I did. Why did you do it? He hammered a stake with more force than needed. He would have killed me. He was on the ground. He would have killed me later. That might have been true. War was full of future dangers men used to excuse present choices. The system gave no reward, I said. I do not have your system. No. You have yourself. He looked at me then, angry and ashamed and young. Did you never kill a man who could not stop you? Not yet. Yet, he repeated. The word stayed with me. Near midnight, rain began. Cold, steady, quieting rain. It turned the ditch slick and the repaired gate dark. Men shivered under cloaks. The forest beyond the palisade disappeared into wet black. I stood on the wall beside Tyro and tried not to use eagle sight on every shadow. Do you think Armin Surik is out there? He whispered. No. Why? The prisoner said scouts. Prisoners lie. Also, if their champion came himself, I think the trees would be quieter. Tyro considered that. That is not comforting. I am new to comfort too. The attack came without horns. A burning cart rolled out of the trees toward the gate. The cart should not have burned in that rain. Pitch did the work. Flames crawled blue and orange along its sides, protected by soaked hides thrown over the top. 2 dead mules were lashed to the front, their bodies weighted so the slope carried them straight toward our repaired gate. Hooks! Secundus shouted. Men threw ropes. One caught a wheel and snapped. Another missed. The cart struck the ditch, tipped and slammed against the gate in a burst of sparks and steam. The palisade shuddered. Smoke rolled over the wall, thick with pitch stink. Shapes ran behind it. I opened eagle sight and learned at once that smoke was nearly as good as darkness. Marks flashed only when bodies broke through clear patches. Level 2. Level 3. Level 5. Injuries none. Skills half seen and gone. My eyes burned for fragments. Close it! Cassian roared from inside. The gate had not opened, but one hinge tore loose. Men with axes struck from outside where the cart masked them. Each blow sent splinters inward. Secundus ordered javelins down through the smoke. Some struck wood. One struck a man, and the system credited my warning. Experience gained, 50. Small numbers beside the lives at the gate. Still enough to matter. Tyro ran along the wall with messages. Left gap holding. Right tower needs men. Take Flaccus and 2, I said. You do not command me. Then pretend Secundus said it. He did. Secundus snapped from below. Go. Tyro went. The gate cracked. A boar-marked warrior shoved his shield through the opening, widening it. I saw the iron rim, the angle, the chance. Shield hook pulsed in my forearm. I jumped down from the inner step and hit the gate gap with my scutum. The warrior thrust a spear through. It scraped along my side and tore cloth from my tunic. I caught his shield rim through the broken gate, turned, and pulled with every bit of strength the system had given and every bit the vineyard had grown. The angle was ugly. The gatepost blocked my step. My wrist screamed. The warrior's shield jammed sideways in the crack. Now! I shouted. 2 Romans hammered the trapped shield with axes from inside. The warrior tried to let go. The leather grips tangled around his wrist. Secundus drove a spear through the gap into his chest. We shoved the body back and used his own shield to plug the hole. Experience gained, 60. The cart fire spread along the gate. Rain hissed. Smoke stung. Men coughed and fought half-blind. The system offered nothing against burning wood except the facts of visible men trying to kill us. The right tower screamed. I looked up. Tyro stood on the tower platform with 3 Romans, fighting men who had climbed the outside posts. One enemy vaulted over the rail, axe in hand. Flaccus met him, hesitated, and nearly died. Tyro stabbed the climber in the back of the thigh. Flaccus recovered and slammed him into the rail. A second climber came behind them with a hook pole. Eagle sight caught him between smoke waves. Level 5. Strength 12. Agility 13. Injury, none. Mastered skill, ladder reap. He swept the hook across the tower floor. 1 Roman went down screaming, ankle opened. Tyro jumped the sweep, but the movement trapped him near the rail. The level 5 fighter reversed the hook and caught Tyro's shield strap. I ran. Running through a fort under attack is not heroic. It is tripping over buckets, slipping in blood, slamming your shoulder into men who curse you until they see where you are going. By the time I reached the tower ladder, Tyro was half over the rail. I climbed with my shield on my back and gladius in my teeth like an idiot from a tavern mural. Halfway up, an arrow struck the rung near my hand. I nearly fell. Endurance 10 kept my arms working. Agility 11 found the next rung. Fear did the rest. The level 5 fighter hauled Tyro outward. Flaccus struck him from behind. Not a killing blow. A good one. The hook loosened. I came over the platform low, shield first. The fighter turned fast and grazed my scalp above the ear. Warm blood ran down my neck from the shallow cut. I saw his hook lift for ladder reap again. No room for shield hook. Wrong equipment. Wrong rhythm. I stepped inside and punched him with the scutum boss. He absorbed it. Stronger than me. Faster than most. He hooked the top of my shield and tried to reap it aside the way the giant had done. For one terrifying heartbeat, I understood what my enemies felt. My own echo showed me the shape of the danger because it was family to the movement in my arm. Instead of resisting, I stepped with his pull. He expected a shield to fight him. He did not expect a body to follow. His hook dragged my scutum across both of us, closing the space. My gladius went under it, short and brutal. Experience gained, 120. Skill echo available, ladder reap. Capture this technique. The prompt flashed while Tyro dragged himself back over the rail. 3 slots, I reminded myself. Shield hook already held 1. Ladder reap needed a hooked pole or similar weapon. Useful on walls. Useless in a Roman shield line. Capturing every shiny death would fill me with tricks I could not practice while men beside me needed simple strength. I refused. The prompt vanished. The refusal felt like dropping a coin into a well and hearing no splash. Below, the gate fire was dying under mud and rain. The attackers had expected the cart to break us. It had opened a wound, not a door. Secundus led a push through the smoke, 3 shields wide, stabbing outward to clear the axes from the gate. Cassion's voice called timing from inside the storehouse. Even wounded, he made men move together. The Boar Scouts withdrew again. This time Secundus let them go only as far as the ditch. Then he ordered javelins into the retreating shapes until the forest swallowed them. No chase. When the last sounds faded, the watch station remained ours. The gate sagged. The tower rail was broken. 6 more Romans were dead, and twice that many bled. Tyro sat with his back against a post, laughing without humor because his hands would not stop shaking. Flaccus stood beside him, staring at the enemy he had helped kill while the rain washed blood through the planks. You did not stab him when he was down, I said. Flaccus looked at me. He wasn't down. No. Good, he said, and then he sat before his legs could choose for him. The system settled over me after the fight. Level available. I waited until the wounded were moved, the gate braced, and the dead covered. Only then did I stand under the storehouse eaves and open the panel. Level 3. Strength 9. Endurance 10. Agility 11. Vitality 10. Intelligence 11. Experience 310 of 400. 2 free stat points available. I had reached level 3 during the fight at the rocks and saved its points until now. I had refused an echo. My body felt like a cracked cup. This time I put 1 point into strength and 1 into intelligence. Strength rose to 10. Intelligence rose to 12. The pain came with a different edge. Muscles tightened, yes, but behind my eyes the world sharpened unpleasantly. Not brighter. More connected. I saw how the broken gate, the ditch mud, the enemy's withdrawal pattern, and the prisoner's answers all formed a single shape. Surik was not trying to win every skirmish. He was measuring what made us stand. Morning found the watch station ugly and alive. The rain stopped before sunrise. Mist rose from the ditch and mixed with smoke from the dead cart. Men moved slowly, as if every joint had been filled with sand. Secundus ordered hot barley for those who could swallow and water for those who could not. The surgeon slept sitting up with bloody hands in his lap. The road south waited beyond the gate. It should have felt like escape. Instead it looked like another throat for the enemy to close. Secundus gathered us in the yard. We move in 1 column until the lower bridge. If the bridge stands, we cross and burn the north planks behind us. If the bridge is held, we take it. If the bridge is gone, we build rafts and curse the engineers. Wounded in the center. Standard forward but not alone. No one breaks formation for trophies, anger, or voices in the trees. His eyes touched me on the last phrase. I nodded. Cassian could not walk, which made him more furious than the enemy had. For men carried him. He insisted on holding a spear across his chest like a magistrate's rod. "You look ridiculous," I told him. "Good. Men remember ridiculous orders." "What order?" "Do not spend your eyes unless you must." I had not told him I was tempted. He knew anyway. The column left through the repaired gate. We had fewer shields now and more litters. The prisoners walked bound in the center under guard. The archer's wounded arm had been wrapped. He watched me whenever he thought I would not notice. I noticed. Tyro walked beside the standard with a swollen nose and a new steadiness that had not been there 3 days before. Fear still lived in him. It lived in all of us. But it no longer held the only chair. "If we reach the bridge," he said, "does that mean we survived?" "It means we reached the bridge. You have become less comforting by the hour." "Command. Do not say it like a disease. It feels like one." He looked at Secundus, then at Cassion's litter, then at the men watching the trees. "Maybe. But men seem to catch it from whoever stands up first." The road descended through thinner woods. Sunlight broke in pale strips. Birds had returned, which should have helped. It did not. Every time they went silent, every shield lifted. Near midday, we found the first sign of the bridge, a Roman milestone split with an axe and painted with a black boar. The captured archer laughed softly. Secundus struck him once with the back of his hand. Not hard enough to injure. Hard enough to stop the sound. "Translate," he told the trader. The archer spat blood, listened to the question, and answered with a shrug. "He says the bridge belongs to the spear now," the trader said. The lower bridge crossed a fast brown river between 2 banks of willow and stone. It was Roman work, stout posts, timber planks, low side rails, practical and unlovely. It still stood. That was the good news. The bad news stood on it. Boar Scouts held the far side behind a barricade of carts and sharpened stakes. More waited among the willows on both banks. Not a full warband. Enough. Secundus studied it from the trees. "They want us to rush. Can we go around?" Tyro asked. "With litters?" "Not before they bring more men." Cassian shifted on his litter. "Smoke them." Secundus looked at him. "Willow is wet," Cassian said. "Cart pitch is not. They brought fire last night. Some remains in the captured jars." I saw the plan take shape in Secundus's face. Not a brilliant plan. A Roman one. Use what the enemy left. Push shields forward. Smoke the barricade. Cross under cover. Clear the far bank. Burn planks behind us if pursuit came. "Lucius," Secundus said. "Your eyes. One look. I need the strongest point." Cassian muttered a curse but did not object. I crawled to a gap between shrubs and opened eagle sight. The bridge sharpened. Pain began at once, but I kept it narrow, target by target. Level 3. Level 2. Level 6 behind the cart, strength 14, endurance 12, injury, none, mastered skill, spear check. Level 4 in the willow left, injury, old limp, skill, neck cast. Level 5 right bank, skill, quick draw. No hidden men beyond what I could see. No thoughts. No future. Just enough facts to make fear useful. I closed the sight and swallowed bile. Leader behind the cart. Level 6. Spear check. Left willow has a net. Right bank has a fast archer. Secundus nodded. Net first. Archer second. Leader last. Spear check. Cassian asked. Looks like he stops charges. Then we do not give him one. We made bundles from wet brush and pitch scraps, lit them under shields, and rolled smoke toward the bridge mouth. The wind helped. The first bundle hissed out. The second caught. Thick smoke crawled across the planks. The enemy jeered until the smoke reached their eyes. Sabinus led the first shield group. I went in the second with Tyro and Flaccus. We did not run. Cassian had forbidden it. We advanced with shields high while javelins hissed through smoke and struck wood. One punched through the shield beside me and stopped a finger from my neck. The neck came from the left willow, not at the front group, but at the gap between groups. The level for net fighter had waited for separation. Intelligence 12 did not think for me, but it made the pattern bright. Down! I shouted. Tyro dropped. I dropped. The weighted net flew over us and tangled around Flaccus's shield instead of his legs. He panicked, then remembered himself and drove forward, using the net-wrapped shield like a ram. Sabinus turned from the bridge rail and threw a javelin into the willow. The net fighter fell into view. Experience gained, 30. The fast archer on the right bank rose to shoot Sabinus. I had no javelin. Tyro did. He threw before aiming fully, a quick ugly cast. The spear struck the rail near the archer's hand. The shot went wide. A veteran behind us finished the archer with a cleaner throw. Experience gained, 20. We reached the barricade. The level 6 leader waited behind it with a long spear and a calm face. He was not large like the giant. He did not need to be. The first Roman over the cart died because the spear but struck his shield down and the point came over in the same motion. Spear check. Stop the push, punish the reach. I wanted that skill immediately. Wanting is not choosing. The bridge rail hemmed us. Smoke blinded us. Men pressed from behind. The level 6 fighter used the barricade like a second shield. Every thrust we made gave him a shaft to turn. He wounded Sabinus in the shoulder and kicked the cart so it rolled half a pace into us. Our push stalled. Then the far bank horn sounded. More Boar Scouts were coming through the willows. Secundus could not see the far horns from our place on the bridge, but he heard the change in enemy voices. Clear it now. Now was a cruel word. It did not explain how. The level 6 spear leader stood behind the cart with perfect distance. If we rushed, spear check killed the first man and stopped the rest. If we waited, reinforcements reached the bank. If we tried to climb the rail, the river took us. Cassian was not there to call the rhythm. He lay somewhere behind us, wounded and angry, unable to turn this narrow problem into a lesson. I opened eagle sight. The leader's mark steadied through smoke. Level 6. Strength 14. Endurance 12. Agility 10. Injury, none. Mastered skill, spear check. The pain drove deep. I forced myself to look at details the system did not name. His forward foot braced against a cartwheel. His left hand guided the shaft near the balance point. His eyes watched shields, not faces. Spear check punished the first body through the gap. So I gave him no body. Tyro, I said. Pole. What pole? Any pole. He understood faster than I deserved. He grabbed the broken rail piece near our feet and shoved it into my hands. It was too long for a sword and too short for a proper spear, slick with rain. Flaccus, shield high. Do not cross. Flaccus stared. Do not cross. He planted at the barricade and lifted his shield as if preparing to climb. The level 6 leader's spear moved to check him. I thrust the broken rail low through the smoke, not at the man, but at the cartwheel bracing his foot. The pole struck the wheel. Weak. Useless. He adjusted. I thrust again, harder, using strength 10 and both hands. The pole jammed between wheel and plank. Tyro threw his weight against my back. The cart shifted half a handspan. The leader's braced foot slipped. Flaccus did not cross. He slammed his shield into the cart and stopped. Sabinus, wounded shoulder and all, drove his spear over Flaccus's rim. The leader turned it with spear check, still good, still dangerous. I used the leverage I had learned while drilling shield hook, not the echo itself. The cart was not an enemy shield, so the system offered no guided movement. I caught its broken side with my scutum rim, turned, and pulled while Flaccus shoved. The cart rotated instead of rolling. The barricade opened a narrow mouth. The leader had to step back. That was all Romans needed. Sabinus went through low. Tyro followed with a scream that sounded nothing like prayer. I came third. The leader's spear but struck my shield and nearly folded my arm, but he no longer had the cart to fix the distance. I crashed into him before the point could return. He was stronger. His knee drove into my thigh. His shaft slammed across my throat. Black spots burst in my vision. He twisted, trying to throw me into the river. Tyro stabbed his calf. Flaccus struck his spear haft with an axe. I drove my gladius up under his ribs. Experience gained, 240. Skill echo available, spear check. Capture this technique? Yes, I wanted to say. The prompt hung while fighting continued around us. Capturing a skill in the middle of the bridge might cramp my muscles. Refusing might waste the best counter I had seen. Spear check fit Roman equipment. It used a spear. It protected lines. It could stop charges without requiring the enemy's shield rim. I chose yes. The echo entered like a blow to the spine. But, point, brace, recover. A spear was not only a line from hand to enemy. It was a gate. Stop force before it became collision. My shoulders locked around the lesson. I nearly dropped my sword. A Boar Scout came through the smoke at that exact moment. I could not use the new echo. I had no spear in my hands and my muscles were still swallowing the lesson. Tyro saved me by ramming him into the rail. The scout fell into the river, hit a post, and vanished under brown water. Experience gained, 90. The far bank became chaos. Secundus's second group crossed behind us. Romans cleared the willow left and right. The prisoners were held back until the bank was safe. Boar Scouts tried to rally beyond the brush, but the loss of the level 6 leader and the smoke turned their trap into a brawl. Brawls favored men with shields if they stayed together. Line! I shouted. On the far cart! Men heard because they needed a place to stand. We formed a ragged half-line around the broken barricade. Spear check echoed in my shoulders, begging for practice, useless while I still held gladius and shield. I kicked a fallen spear up, caught it badly, and nearly lost a finger. Novice. The word might as well have been Cassian laughing. A scout charged with an axe. I tried spear check. But lo, brace, point return. My grip was wrong. The spear haft slid through my palm and burned skin. The axe struck my shield hard enough to drive me back. Novice did not mean ready. Sabinus killed the attacker before my mistake became fatal. Practice later, he shouted. Yes, I said. Good thought. We pushed the far bank step by step. Not far. Just enough to clear the willows and give litters room to cross. Secundus brought the wounded over under shields. Cassian's litter came last before the prisoners. He saw the dead level 6 leader and the spear in my hand. You took it, he said. Yes. Can you use it? Badly. Then we drill if we live. The Boar Scouts withdrew beyond javelin range. Secundus ordered the north planks torn loose and burned. Smoke rose from the bridge again, this time ours. The river took black ash and carried it away. The road south was open. We had paid for that open road in blood, but it was open. Men sacked where they stood. Some cried. Some laughed. Secundus leaned on the standard pole for one private heartbeat before straightening. Tyro sat on the far bank and stared at his hands as if surprised they remained attached. The system settled over me. Level 4. Strength 10. Endurance 10. Agility 11. Vitality 10. Intelligence 12. Experience, 290 of 650. Skill echoes held, shield hook, novice. Spear check, novice. 1 slot open. No new free points yet. Good. I was not sure I could survive another gift. We had survived the ambush. We had carried the wounded. We had held the watch station and forced the bridge. The lower road south lay clear to the next Roman camp. For the first time since the spear struck Marcellus, I believed we might walk out of the forest. Then every bird on the far bank rose at once. The birds rose from the pines in a black sheet, all at once, as if the forest had exhaled them. Men stopped tearing planks from the bridge. A hammer fell from someone's hand and struck wood with a flat sound. Even the wounded quieted. No horn had sounded. That made it worse. Secundus lifted one hand. The column froze. Cassian pushed himself up on his elbows despite the surgeon's protest. Tyro came to stand beside me, spear in hand, face turned north. Across the river, beyond the broken bridge and the smoke, the withdrawing Boar Scouts reappeared at the tree line. They did not charge. They did not loose arrows. They stood with shields lowered, looking up toward the ridge behind them. A lone man stepped into view above the trees. Distance made him small. The posture did not. He wore a dark cloak fastened with a silver boar, and in his hand he held a spear taller than any man near him. The defeated warriors below did not turn their backs on him. Some lowered their heads. Some touched their burned boar marks. None spoke. An officer beside me whispered, "Their king." Cassian's voice came from the litter, rough but clear. "No. Kings wear gold and let other men stand closest to danger." My mouth had gone dry. The name from the prisoner returned. Amin Surik. The champion who did not need a crown. I should not have opened eagle sight. I knew that before I did it. My eyes already felt bruised inside the skull. Smoke hung over the river. Distance blurred the ridge. The system could mark visible targets, yes, but farsight demanded focus, and focus demanded pain. I opened it anyway. The ridge sharpened. Blood pulsed behind my eyes. The mark settled over the stranger, and the system showed me enough to understand why an army had obeyed his silence. Level 27. Strength 24. Endurance 22. Agility 19. Vitality 23. Injury, none. Mastered skills, Spear Lord, Iron March, Eagle Breaker. The words did not fit. Marcellus, the hardest Roman officer I had ever seen, had been level 7. Cassian was level 6. The bridge leader had been level 6 and had nearly stopped a column. The champion on the ridge was not merely stronger than me. He stood beyond every soldier on our hill, beyond every lesson I had survived long enough to learn. Eaglebreaker. The skill name seemed to look back. My eyes burned so hard the world doubled. I tried to close the sight. For a heartbeat it held, or I held it, unable to release the terror of the numbers. Purple shadows spread across the river. The champion turned his head. He looked directly at me. Not at the standard. Not at Secundus. At me. Eaglesight could not read thoughts, hidden traps, or the future. It did not need to. Armin Surik lifted his spear and pointed first at the eagle ornament on our signum. Then he moved the spear point until it rested, across all that distance, on my chest. The Boar Scouts struck their shields once. The sound crossed the river like a door closing. Armin lowered the spear. He did not charge. He did not need to. The bridge between us burned. The road south was open. We had won everything we needed for the day, and still every man on our bank understood that the larger fight had just found its name. The northern horn sounded a final time, not in retreat, but in promise. My vision collapsed. Tyro caught me before I hit the stones. I heard Cassian cursing, Secundus ordering shields up, the surgeon shouting that my eyes were bleeding. I tried to answer and could not. Darkness folded over the river, the bridge, the standard, the champion. In that dark, the system whispered no reward. No level. No points. No echo. Only the memory of a level 27 mark and a skill called Eaglebreaker. As the Romans carried me south beneath the eagle I had helped raise, one thought stayed clear. The battle had not been their invasion. It had been the moment Armin Surik learned my face.